Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Trekyards. I am Captain Foley.
And I'm Connor Coggins, and thank goodness the Iron Storms have diminished so you can actually watch this. They were playing Havoc last night, and there actually were storms last night in England, so...
Anyway, welcome back, guys. We're here today to talk about episode 3 of Strange New Worlds, called Ghosts of Illyria.
So what do you think, Stuart? Lightning Bottle third time in a row?
It was a good episode. I did enjoy it. There was a lot to like. That being said, there were a few things that were kind of for me, but overall it was pretty good. It did feel more like a TNG episode, I think, than TOS. This one. How about you? What did you think of this one?
No, I liked it. Hard to not like it. They're all doing good work in general. I think it had the opposite problem, or the opposite thing to last week, where last week lost momentum. I think this episode I wasn't connecting as well for the first third, but when the story starts going, it has a pace that's quite. It doesn't stop going. It plays a good amount of expectation-ness, which gives Una a progressively more and more important role, which once you get it, I think by the end it solidifies as being a strong episode. It's just... you kind of have to watch it twice, and I'm looking forward to that, because once you know who she is, I think the first half... I actually literally went back and straight and watched her intro log and see if it was hinted, etc. But apart from that, I liked it. I thought it was another case of, yeah, we're going to focus on one cast member. We did. Is she going to be a villain in the episode? Kind of wait on tenterhooks for that. Of course, the colonists are the aliens in the storm was obvious from the first second. So I was a bit like, well, we've got to give Pike and Spock something to do, but we're not going to give them anything to do, sort of vibe. We'll just rather give them a day off, so we'll have them shoot for, which is not a bad thing. I think focusing on everyone else is really important. But clearly they shot them for like half a day just to get them out of the way, because it's very obvious what's going to happen. And so there's sort of it's not a very satisfying payoff, because it's obvious from that might just be me, and certainly other episodes I've not guessed the twist, so if I had, I might have felt the same way as this. But certainly those are the rest interesting. They're still well done in their moments, just very minimal moments.
I think the Spock scenes were very Spock-like. Like, you did a really good job this week of... It felt like Spock, very much so. All right, well, we got some more Hammer in this one, which was nice. I was kind of shocked that he got affected by the virus. Honestly, I expected him to be immune to it for some reason. It was good to see him doing his thing, and, I'm a genius. Although I didn't quite understand the whole transporter thing, because all the transporters were upgraded except for the sickbay one, but because of the power boost, it nullified the biofilters because of the medical one.
Yes.
Okay. Don't understand how that works.
And
right.
you could tell they didn't quite know how it worked even to the end. And
yeah.
that moment when they say, so how do we get the antibodies? Well, you were near her, and so you had antibodies too, and then we made antibodies out of those antibodies. It's like, I mean, they're both augments, I get it. Really stretching it, but I mean, they clearly wrote themselves in a very intricate situation. Literally, everyone's gone. The ship's about to blow up. It's one of those 45 minutes in, you got 12 seconds to resolved it. It's like, oh, okay. Wasn't bad. It's just, well.
Yeah, I just didn't understand the upgrading the biofilters and those being affected in the main engineering room, just because the medical one wasn't upgraded.
I mean, biofilters are fun because and we've had this debate a few times, they're perfect at stuff you know about. Because that's the whole point. You can't program for the unknown. However, Hemmer did say at one point, it takes out anything that is unknown. But there's still obviously stuff that is so unknown it can't be known to be unknown in the pattern buffer. So that they were kind of debating both sides of the argument as they went. And obviously it didn't work, so they got through. But yeah, I mean, it was definitely an interesting Naked Now sort of side story with augment story. Not as much Khan as I thought it was going to be, although when they did finally mention it with Lan, it was extremely heavy-handed. It felt very much like do you realise they probably have this exact conversation many a time to many people, and everyone's like, you know about Khan? I know about Khan. It's like, this is going to be the 50th time this week you've had this conversation. They say it as if they're fresh. That could have been a lot smarterly written, but it was the first time we've seen it, so let's treat it the first time everyone's ever heard it.
I'm still wondering why Spock didn't mention anything about Lan when they ran into Khan and Space Seed. But hey, that's something.
Because they wanted a character called Lan Noonien Singh. But I think we worked out why Mbenga is no longer going to be Doctor Chief Medical afterwards, because something's going to go wrong with his daughter. I mean, he's already breaking the rules. He should be punished anyway. Not that I condemn wisdom per se, but, against the rules. and something that's going to be his downfall, which is good. They've kind of put in there, and I was not expecting a little twist at the end. I mean, you could tell he kind of went sinister for a second, which is great, but that end is like, oh, now we've got the setup for his fall because he's chief medical officer of the flagship, not a flagship, and then he's now just help man in like 4 years. So I thought it was a good setup.
At that point too, I got the feeling that, my God, the Enterprise is so let's break all the rules ship. Pike doesn't want to.
Yeah.
Pike doesn't want to turn in Una. Una just ignores the problem or the thing with the
Milan punch her in the face.
Transporter buffer and Lon, exactly. Yeah, it's a very forgiving ship, or day at least. And I get it. You know, they're the main characters. They respect and like each other and whatever. But
that's true.
It's a small thing, but I do like when Pike's when she says, you know, they'll drum you out of Starfleet essentially for helping me. He's like, I look forward to that conversation. Like, but I mean, finding out that Una was a Illyrian, I mean, there you go. I think every file, you know, made up fictional file I've seen on her always says human. I assumed at one point we were going to get that she was genetically modified, like Bashir, to be smarter and stronger, because when she's carrying Hemmer, she's like, how are you doing that? Never mind. I assumed she was genetically engineered, not an Illyrian. But that was kind of a cool reveal, so I never got the sense that they were humans. I thought they were just...
Well, they said humanoid. I mean, they look human. They're from Earth. I mean, they're a colony race. They came from...
I didn't know they were a colony. I just thought they were a planet.
They said Illyrians...
I didn't hear that.
They said Illyrians, she's from a different colony to this colony, so they've also got multiple colonies, and it's unlikely a perfectly identical humanoid race will have warp drive in the galaxy. We don't really see other humanoids, like actually humans with warp drive. So I assume they were just one of the many colonies that went out. They then obviously had the warp drive. They had the colony. They then split off to their own thing. Yeah.
I think they're like Illyrians are just, they look exactly like humans.
Okay, so they're an exact duplicate of humans with warp drive around the same time that also had spacefaring. They had multiple colonies that also enough to get destroyed and also go on Starfleet.
I never heard the word colony, so except that she wasn't on world when.
But she says in a different thing that wasn't her colony, so there's more than one colony. She's also got through Starfleet blending in, so all of her scans show fully human. So I mean, any race that's mostly human still not be human in the DNA. So she'd have to be human to you know. I don't think she doesn't come across as the lady who would sabotage all the bioscans at every medical and every scene in her entire career. She gets away with it because it's so subtle. I mean, Bashir isn't faking medical records. They're not visible unless you do certain scans, I suppose.
I mean, you say they look exactly human, but I mean, everybody in TOS looked almost exactly human that weren't human. So, but yeah, I get the medical scan thing. But anyway, that needs to be cleared up. I need to watch that again to see if there's any reference to it.
But yeah, I definitely got that instant. She, grabbed the guy. I was like, oh, I kind of thought she was going to augment it from the virus that was on the planet. That was going to be her arc, is that she became augmented through that instant, boom, and now she's forever changed. I thought that was going to be the fun twist, but her whole life works just fine as well.
Yeah, I didn't like the whole increase illumination by 25% and then rip your uniform and then do the red hand mutant thing and be like, oh, I'm fine. Like, I get trying to cover up that you're not infected. It happens in every zombie movie. But I'm glad that was explained that was her body washing out the contagion. And she knew about it, so it was like, yeah, I'm fine. But
no, and the first time I won't watch, but the first time you watch it, you assume, okay, she's one of those that ignores the rules to just be for 5 minutes and waiting every scene for a to turn. But obviously, knowing then who she is, it's fine because everything rolls around the secret of hers. So obviously she won't tell. So it works fine in that context. So I do appreciate the Kirk rip was a bit of a blatant reference. I thought that was fun, and I thought she looked great in the standard version uniform rather than the dress. It was nice to see her in that because that should be both genders, obviously. So I thought that was nice. Yeah. Good in that, I thought.
Yeah. The Uhura thing, not getting infected because she had her thing closed and was in the darkness. wasn't Uhura on the bridge when there was the announcement made that they were doing the lockdown? Because I think there was a reaction shot of Uhura, unless
Everyone
I'm
was.
mistaken.
Everyone was where they were. Yeah.
Okay, well then, later it said she was off duty, so she went back to her quarters, even though you're supposed to stay where you are. If you're at your duty station, you stay there. That was a little bit of a weird disconnect for me.
Well, time had passed. It was that she finished her duty shift and then went to her quarters because she was locked in her quarters. So she's obviously...
Yeah, but that's not what that's not what the order was. Basically, you're locked down in your quarters. Anyone at duty stations will remain at duty stations until this is lifted, which means she should have stayed on the bridge so that she didn't contaminate everybody that she walked past on the way to her quarters, should she have been infected. So that kind of just threw me a little bit, but
maybe she was 12 minutes from the end of her duty shift, so she thought, I mean, I shouldn't stay on... I shouldn't... Well, yeah, but if you've already been on duty for 16 hours, I mean, it's less safe to have a fresh person.
But that being said, number one was down on the planet and on the bridge. Chances are you might be infected. Stay where you are instead of going back and infecting the other people in your quarters, as well as everybody you meet in the hallway. So that didn't quite ring good for me, but small thing.
Didn't think about it. Although, boy, the word lockdown certainly has new connotations. But if this is their pandemic episode, I thought they handled it with a grace that most shows wouldn't, because it isn't a pandemic episode, but they included a brief sense of it for the audience in a minimal way. But we saw, cadets sharing quarters in very lower deck style booths. I mean, that must be
with holodeck emitters that can create suns. What?
And they say it's canon, like proper full 100% prime visual. Yeah. But I mean, it must be an intentional reference to lower decks, though, having those sorts of pods and that sort of vibe. But also, we've talked about how the ship is massively bigger than it ever was in the show. It's like 30-40% bigger than it ever was in canon. And yet they've still got cadets taking up 4 to a room. So what's the extra... Well, I guess the engineering room is like 34 times the size of... I'd love to see a cutout. That must take up a big chunk of the secondary hull. I guess the secondary hull's now bigger. But I mean, that is still just obnoxiously big engineering room. It makes it's ludicrous.
That being said, I did like the engineering room shots in this one. Like, not necessarily the shots of the big back part, but at the beginning of the episode with Hammer and the control consoles and the shot of the Enterprise and transferring power. I thought that was all very cool. I like the way that looks. So,
I mean, it's kind of like the brewery in 09. It just is wrong, so it's kind of hard to get past that. But I do like a lot of the actual. It's not the warp core, because clearly, but the middle tube with those little weird light diffuse things. That was great. I wish that was all that was in the room, because that thing's brilliant. Very, very sort of aesthetic. I'm kind of surprised how for Hemmer he's kind of one note. He didn't really do. He was sort of the same vibe the entire time. Everyone's kind of doing a bit more. He's kind of the same gag every time. I don't know if they're going to try and develop him more. But I was
they will. He'll get his own episode where there'll be more. Yeah. No, it was a good episode. I just don't know if it's better than the other two for me. Like I said, it felt very much like a TNG episode and like vibe wise to me. But I mean, that's a good thing.
Yeah, I was going to say, is that a critique?
No, I'm just saying the other two felt very TOS in their plot and the way it was played out. This one was a mix of both, but more TNG for me.
Well, it does help. It's literally a virus storyline we have seen in every other show. And it once happened in TOS, it was a very specific virus. This is a bit more... It was interesting. I certainly like the light idea. I mean, it was all interesting. And like I said, I mean, for me, these are always going to be variable levels of strong, I think. This one just wasn't as strong, but that's okay. I think the first third's not quite as strong. It ends good. Obviously, very Cisco reference at the end, deleting a log.
I thought that too.
Which I called, because of course she's not going to let that be in a log, because any admiral can access any personal log anytime they want. Just keyword search Illyrian in all the Starfleet database and say, oh, well, we got 14, they've all out themselves. Like, it's not,
It's like one of those things, though, where you send a text message and then you unsend it or to a group chat, and it says so-and-so unsent a message.
That would be interesting, yeah.
So the admirals are going through going, what is this log?
Would it make, Huh.
It would probably show that one was deleted, yeah, but it'd be like, I messed it up, or whatever. But yeah, I thought that was very much a Cisco thing at the end there, yeah.
I mean, this one felt, out of the three, and this definitely, I think, links to why I say more TNG. This one felt the more connected to the grander vibes of linking to TNG group version, linked to more sciencey talk, which is definitely more Voyager and TNG, linking to Cisco at the end with very much like a one... Because DS9 is the only show that kind of went for one actor storylines. Like, this is really focused Una. The other two had more everybody. This was like, with a perspective character we are following. So it feels like Cisco really much doing his episode with that reference at the end. It kind of has a... So it kind of pulls from a lot of those vibes very distinctly. And we had the other, an Enterprise person trapped in the transporter buffer. So this pulled a lot more ideas from the grander canon. So I think that's also why you think that. It is less singular in scope.
Comment down below what you guys thought about this episode. We want to hear your thoughts. And if you want to join us for our live later today...
Which you do.
And you obviously do. So make sure you're subscribed. We've actually found out that a lot of people thought they were subscribed and aren't. So please check that and click the notification bell icon so you don't miss those lives where you can join us, voice your opinion, and also help us out in many different ways.
Like supporting the channel via PayPal, one-time donation, trekyards@hotmail.com, or monthly, or join the channel on YouTube or Patreon, both very useful. Or if you want to even watch one of our videos and say, hey, that was a great discussion. That was a really, really interesting thing you said there. Well, you can super thanks. That's the thing I have to say now. It's weird. It's cool. In any video, you can, any comment or any video, you can put a super thanks in any amount and put your voice as to why, how, who you like this video. That does mount up, and YouTube is not a, it's not a good place for ad revenue. So literally, if you say 5, that ups by a good amount. So if you can, please do. If you can't, don't worry. Just tune in, join in, see our videos, and say hi. But if you can, we thank you in advance.
So until next time, everybody, he is Commander Cosmos.
It's Captain Foley.
You're not an Illyrian, are you? You hiding anything from me?
I mean, with the amount of renders I can make in quick succession, who the hell knows shit?
Well, you are British. I guess that makes you genetically superior. Anyway, bye, guys.
Bye.